Hello, friends. You've had a busy week of writing. You've learned how to write a lead to hook your reader to start your story. You've learned how to add details by using your senses, like your sense of smell, your sense of touch, and using feelings or emotions. You've also learned how to show in your story how you can jump back in time to make a strong personal narrative. And today, we're getting towards the end of our writing. And today we're going to talk about lessons. How do you teach a lesson, right? And most of you have done a great job being able to express what you're wanting to teach your reader. And I'm going to give you 3 things to write down. Okay? And this is about how do I teach a lesson by writing a personal narrative. Right? You're going to ask yourself, what am I trying to tell the reader? Right? You're clearly telling them a story about something that happened in your life, but what do you really want them, right, to understand? So what are you really trying to tell them? Maybe you could ask yourself, what do I want my reader to get out of my writing? Right? We talk about that a lot with author's purpose. What are you supposed to take away from reading a book or a story? Possibly, how can the reader learn something important from me? So you're writing a personal narrative, but this personal narrative has a turning point where you've learned a lesson and you're sharing that lesson with your reader. I want you to pause the video right now. I want you to write the title down, and I want you to write these 3 things down. And you should find a blank page after leads from the last time. So make sure you write these things down by pausing the video. Okay, now that you have written those things down, I want to show you the end of my story, because that last paragraph is the triangle at the bottom of our power organizer. This is where you're teaching your reader something, right, with that lesson. I reminded myself to do that 2-finger indent because every time I start a new paragraph, and you'll have 5 of them, you want to make sure that you push that first line in. Right? And here's my good transition phrase. In the end, if you remember back a few pages when we wrote down good transitions, that was on the list, and I chose that one. In the end, I had the best experience learning to paddleboard. Even though I was afraid and doubted myself along the way, I didn't give up. That sunny morning in Maine, I learned a valuable lesson. To get the most out of life, you have to be brave and try new things, even when you're afraid and feel like giving up. So do you see how I shared with my reader, right, what I want them to understand about my whole story? What's the reason I'm sharing it? I want them to know that to get the most out of life, you have to be brave. You have to try new things, even when you're afraid, right? And even when you feel like giving up. Otherwise, right, you won't have any experiences. You won't try anything new. So this is what I'm trying to teach my reader. So my whole last paragraph is about that lesson, what I want them to learn from reading my story. Your job is to continue writing, okay? You should have your first triangle done. Hopefully you've gotten another couple of paragraphs done, and I want you to continue with your story so that you can start, right, to write your last paragraph, which is where you're really teaching them what you want them to know. Next week, we're going to work on a little bit more on revising and editing our papers. We're going to talk about a couple of other things, and then your big project on how you're actually going to write the story and what it's going to look like when we can have our writing celebrations. All right. I'm excited to see what you're writing. Mrs. Petrowski is excited to see what her class is writing. Do your best. And remember, you're writing every day. You need to add to your story. Go back and reread it. That's what I have done. Go back and reread. Add details. Okay. And we're excited to see what you come up with. Have a great afternoon.